Welcome to Snap, Crackle, Pop with your host, Leslie Lugosi. Thanks for listening.
Hey, this is Leslie Lugosi. Thanks for tuning in today. In this episode, rock photographer Terry Allen is going to take us on a really cool journey and share some stories about what inspired him to become a photographer, meeting REM for the first time, hanging out with Michael Stipe at the University of Georgia, traveling to New York and hanging out with the B-52s and David Byrne, managing his brother's band Dreams So Real, and all kinds of really cool stories. There's actually 4 parts to this, so please check them out. Give us a thumbs up if you like it, and please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for listening.
Music is the way I got going on photography, and since I was a young child, I was always seriously infatuated with music that came along. And the first thing that came along in my world, for the most part, was the Beatles. In the early 60s, there were so many great things coming out. I just completely immersed myself in that. I remember in 1965, all the kids at my bus stop were saying, "Hey, the Rolling Stones are playing tonight at the gym. Are you gonna go?" And I was like, the Rolling Stones are kind of naughty and nasty, I'm going to wait for the Beatles to come play here, not realizing that it was a miracle that the Rolling Stones were playing in Statesboro in the first place in 1965. This girlfriend of mine, mom took her because she worked at the school, and she came back the next day and was like, "Oh my God, it was awful." They were so wasted, and they only played about 7 or 8 songs, and then one of them fell off the stage, and So I'm like, yeah, see there, should have stuck with the Beatles when they come. When I was in shop class in Statesboro, my shop teacher pulled me out of class one day and said, "I got something I want to show you." So he takes me they had a dark room at the junior high school that they didn't even have photography classes there. I don't know why they had a dark room, but they did. And so the shop teacher takes me in there and shows me how to put a negative in the enlarger and put a piece of paper down and shine the light on it and put it in the chemistry and make a print. And to me, it was absolute magic when I saw that print coming up in the developer, and just like, oh my God. Why he picked me out of the whole class to take me there, he didn't do it with anybody else. It was like divine intervention or something, But I got real interested in that whole process, A year later, I found out that George Harrison was playing a concert in Atlanta. So somehow I bought a ticket. My sister and I bought a ticket, and a buddy of mine there in Jessup, dad had a Nikon camera, and this kid just went and swiped the camera out of his dad's closet and handed it to me and said, "Here, take this to the George Harrison concert and shoot some pictures." I took the camera. I didn't really know how to work it. I'd never shot any photos in the dark situation like that in a concert situation. I shot pictures of flowers out in my yard and things like that, but that was about it. So I went and shot the George Harrison concert and shot about 3 or 4 rolls of film, got one frame out of all that was in focus and was the right exposure. But that was enough. And so I came home all excited, About 2 years later, Paul McCartney played in Atlanta. By this time, I had convinced my parents to buy me a camera for Christmas. So I again got a ticket to see Paul McCartney, and I was pretty close to the front, down on the floor somehow. I don't know how we got these good tickets, but I got up out of my seat. I went down the front row and shot pictures of Paul McCartney, and this time I got some pretty good shots. I was in school at UGA. I took it to the Red and Black, and the guy was going to put it in the paper, and I thought it was going to be the biggest shot of the whole town by having shot a picture of Paul McCartney. He picks one picture off my roll and puts it in larger and prints it, and it's out of focus, and he's like, "Oh, It's all out of focus, can't use it. So I was devastated, but a week or two later, the story comes out. They used some other stock photo that somebody had, and a week or two later, I go back and then look at all my negatives, and it was like, there's a bunch of them in focus. He just didn't look and find the right one. Like 2 months later, I found this copy of this book called Linda's Pictures. I don't know where I found this thing, but so it was Linda McCartney had been a secretary at Town and Country magazine, and she got an invitation to go shoot photos of the Rolling Stones on a Staten Island boat tour or something. So she took the invitation, took her camera, went and shot pictures of the Stones, and that was her start into being a rock photographer. So she tells all this story in this book. Then she marries Paul McCartney, and she's around a lot of good opportunities to shoot photos. So she shot Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison and a bunch of Beatles stuff. But she also shot photos of street stuff and just family photos and landscapes and different things that weren't rock and roll, and put them in this book. Well, I get a hold of this book. All right, so here's when she went on the boat tour with the Rolling Stones. That was her very first photo that she got published. And then she's got you got pictures of the Beatles, pictures of Grace Slick, Cream, Jimi Hendrix, all this stuff. But in the back, there's more like landscapes and family photos and just other stuff that are halfway interesting. When I saw this book, I was like, wait a second, this is somebody's job to do this. I was majoring in accounting at UGA, and I had my camera, and I saw this, and I was like, I wonder if I could be a photographer and do this kind of stuff. So in the meantime, I go to London with my parents and my sister, and I had shot the Paul McCartney show a few months earlier, had been there and seen that and shot it. It was the first time I'd ever been to Britain, and I was very enamored with the way everybody talked over there and the whole area. It was just like what you imagine. So we go to Abbey Road, my sister and I, we look it up on the map, and it's like, okay, we're going to go there, and we're going to walk across the road like the album cover. And I didn't know there was a studio there. I thought it was just a road. I thought it was just a place where they got the picture made, Abbey Road, you know. So we get there, and there's a guy who was kind of hanging around, and he goes, that's the studio over there, that's the EMI studio right there that the Beatles recorded all their stuff in. And we're like, oh. And he goes, and Paul McCartney is in there. And we're like, what? You know. So he goes, yeah, he's mixing his album. He's doing a live album that he just recorded on his tour when Wings came to America, and he and Linda are coming and going every day, you know. So it was about 6 o'clock or so, and he goes, I think he's already gone home. He just lives down the street. So we were like, oh my God. So we're going to come back the next day and just see if we can bump into him, you know. So we go to the record store, bought a copy of Rubber Soul, which I didn't have at that point, and we take pictures of each other walking across the road again, because we'd done it the day before, but we didn't do it right. There was nobody around. Nobody. I'm taking a picture of my sister walking across Abbey Road, and she's 16 years old. She's looking behind me, and she gets this look on her face like, what? You know, I turn around, and Paul is walking up all by himself, got on a jacket, and he's just pointing at us and laughing and like, I've seen that before. And so I'm like, Paul, do you mind if we take a picture of you? And he's like, no, I sure don't, you know. And he goes, where are y'all from? So we're like, well, we're from Georgia. He's like, well, I just played there in Atlanta. And we're like, yeah, we went to the show, all this stuff, you know. So he was waiting for Linda to show up. And he stood there for 20 minutes and signed autographs and told us the whole story about doing the album cover photo shoot and joked around about us being from the South. And, you know, I got my picture made with him. My sister got a picture made. And he just was an absolute most charming, wonderful, fun guy that you could imagine. And Linda comes driving up, and she gets out and comes over and talks to us, and I got to tell her that I had seen her book and was very inspired by it and was now trying to be a photographer and all that. So she got a big tickle to hear that. That whole experience was so wonderful, and a lot of times, you know, you hear people run into somebody they admire a lot, some movie star or something, and the person turns out to be in a bad mood that day or grouchy, and it kind of ruins the whole thing. Well, this is the opposite.